Welcome, welcome, welcome online. Michael Firth here. Selamat datang for the Indonesians, bienvenido for the Spanish, and kalos evite for the Greek. And we are in 74 different countries with our opportunity. And I want to say that's all you're going to get from me because I don't know all the languages. Now, today's webinar is going to be really interesting and really helpful for a lot of people on the topic of personal branding. Now, personal branding in the home-based business industry is as important as the brand you are promoting. Some leaders would argue it's even more important or as important as the brand you're promoting. So what are the top 5 deadly sins you should never do, that can damage your personal brand? And what are the 10 tips that I can give you today? Well, we're going to cover all of that off straight after this little timer because I know it takes a few seconds for everyone to get online. So grab a pen, grab some paper, and we'll be right back. Just one moment from now. Alrighty, welcome online, ladies and gentlemen. Michael Firth here, Noumi Crown and founding advisory board member with the company. Now, having said that, today's webinar has nothing to do with Noumi, just so we're clear. I might have my Noumi branding on, but it has absolutely zero to do with Noumi. I would love to see where you're watching us from right now. So please, in the chat, if you're on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, any of those platforms, type in where you're watching us from today, what country. I'm really curious what sort of exposure we get. This is the channel, Everything Noumi Worldwide, when it comes to Noumi, which is your hub for all our live stream events across the world. Having said that, there is even one destination here with multiple languages for what we do with Noumi, but today has nothing to do with Noumi, as I said before. I'm going to come back to that in one sec. Having said that, it is important for me to wrap up very quickly with this. Every event we do, we always give away a free bottle of product. So feel free to type in the chat, pick me please, and you'll go into the draw for this. Just letting you know from last week's live streamed event, Mary Lou Roma Grzalski. Mary Lou Roma Grzalski. I might not have pronounced that right. If you can reach out to me on the page or personal profile, you have won a bottle of product from last week, which is fantastic. So looking forward to getting that into your hands. Cannot wait. Having said that, today, as I said, is a topic of personal branding. And personal branding, if you missed the start, personal branding in home-based business is as important as your brand of the product you're selling, okay? As important as the brand as the product you're selling. Some leaders would argue, and I would definitely argue, that your personal brand is as important as the other brand you're promoting, and in some cases, maybe even more important, okay? So today, before I get into the session, I want to say, how do I qualify to talk on this topic? Because a lot of people hop on and do webinars and you think, well, do you have a clue what you're talking about? I'll take you back. I don't want to show my age, but before Facebook started, I was actually in the mortgage industry and I was a national sales coach, and I was asked by my CEO of the company at the time, he said, go and investigate this weird thing that's popping up called social media and tell us how we can monetize it. And at the time, I studied all the experts and realized personal branding was an important part of this, of how you're perceived, and that would have a real effect to your results. But I also created something called the 4 Faces of Facebook, which has now been utilized and rippled out into other industries. In fact, I was asked to speak on that topic at small business seminars as well, outside of the mortgage industry, and of course in the home-based business network marketing industry as well. Having said that, I left that industry of mortgage industry quite some time ago. Hello to all my friends that are seeing it on LinkedIn and what have you in that industry, but I've been out of that industry for quite some time. Now, the sad thing is, when it comes to personal branding, you can be doing some good things and you can be doing some things at the very same time which will damage your personal brand. So we're going to kick off today with the 5 deadly sins you should never do. The 5 deadly sins you should never do. Please get a pen and paper out and write them down. And then we're going to cover off 10 tips which will help you when it comes to your personal brand. So the very first thing I want to talk about is deadly sin number 1. So if you are in home-based business, and hey, even if you're a mortgage broker, but you're less likely to do it, people want to know about you and connect with you before they want to buy your product. So often what I see is people who had no training hopping straight online as soon as they join a company, and it's no different with Noomi that I represent. They hop on and all you see is Noomi, and they don't understand what they're doing is repelling the very people they're trying to attract. You need to have some balance in your life. And so remember the statement, people connect with people first if they know, like, and trust them before they go and click on some sort of spammy link. So if all you're putting up online every single day is your products from your company repeatedly, you could be doing more damage than benefit to yourself. Deadly sin number 2. Tell me in the chat, have you ever experienced this, right? It's a pet hate of mine. Someone adds you on social media and 5 seconds later you get a note that says, hey, click my link, join my company. I had a guy the other day who added me on Facebook, and then I send a welcome message. I'd encourage you to do this. I said, hey, Fred, thanks for the message. Really great to connect. Tell me a little about yourself if we haven't met before. He looked at the message. He did not respond. That's a pet hate of mine. Then I looked at his wall and realized he was what I believe, a poorly trained network marketer, because he was just spamming his business. And I think his strategy was, if I just add enough random strangers, someone's going to accidentally click on one of these spammy links that I'm putting out there. So I went back to him and I just put a picture with a shrugging hands like, hello, did you see my message? And then he came back and he gave me almost his entire bio of how long he'd been in network marketing, what he did for a living. I said, oh, cool. I'm curious. Did you add me to talk to me about that company, or did you do some research into my background in the industry first before adding me? And he said, I haven't got a clue what you do. Now, imagine going on a date and doing that. Right? I'm not interested in what you do. I just want to talk about myself. It's poor people skills, isn't it? Right? If you agree with me, type in the chat. So deadly sin number 2, when you're reaching out to people, build a relationship first. Don't just go for the jugular. Deadly sin number 3, exaggerating results. Now, that can be exaggerating product results. That can be exaggerating business income results. That can be exaggerating so many different things, right? And I think it's important to keep it real. And rest assured, in the home-based business industry, it is a fact, if you do enough research, that most of the products in the industry are actually superior to products outside the industry. So you don't need to exaggerate. You don't need to suggest that somebody was, couldn't walk, and next minute they've, thrown away the walkers and off they go. Welcome, Sandra from Indonesia. Look at all these people that are online right now. We have people from, where are we? Oh, here we go. We've got people from New Zealand. We've got people from Canada. We've got people from Trinidad and Tobago, Perth, Western Australia. Welcome online, guys. So people coming in from all over the place. So deadly sin number 3, don't exaggerate. It's just not needed. Deadly sin number 4. I saw this recently and it makes me cringe. Maybe you can type in if you've seen this one. Don't air your dirty laundry online. So you've had a fight with your partner, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, and you hop online and you do a big rant. And guess what? You maybe you did that because you wanted some emotional support. But if you're trying to build a personal brand at the same time, you just need to be a professional, and you can't afford to do that, because whilst you're building a great personal brand over here, you'll destroy that personal brand in 5 seconds if you air your dirty laundry about relationships and partners and, what's the word? I can't remember the word. There's a word that people use when the other person's doing that to them. Anyway, moving on. Deadly sin number 5. And this is about income potential. I don't know if you know this, but in the home-based business industry, it is actually against the FTC for you to post incomes unless you can substantiate it. And it's amazing how many times I see someone saying how much income they're earning, and I'm like, where's the disclaimer? Did you know that you can actually be sued by doing that? So don't put incomes up unless you actually back it up. Now, I'm one of the highest income earners in our company, but I'm never going to publish my income results. Why? It's egotistical. And if you do that, you've got to back it up that every single year you're earning the same amount. Okay. So deadly sin number 5, don't exaggerate your income potential either. So let's talk about personal branding now. We've got the 5 things you never want to do, right? Welcome from Virginia. We've got people logging in as well. Fantastic. All over the place. In fact, keep typing in if you're coming in new. Welcome from Canada. Brilliant. So people all over the world. So let's talk about the first thing. How do you want to be perceived? So years ago, it's interesting. I had a speaker coach that I paid some good money for when I was in the mortgage industry. And I asked him to help me brand myself. And he said, well, first thing I want to ask you is, how do you want to be perceived? And what do you mean? He said, what's your social value? I'm like, what do you mean by that? And he said, well, why do people come to you? And I'm like, I don't know. He said, well, go and ask them. So I asked all my contacts, why do you come to me? What do you follow me for? And they said, inspiration, motivation, sales and marketing, hints and tips. And I'm like, okay. I went back to him. He said, well, that's your social value. So if that's the way you want to be perceived, that's really important. Now, having said that, when you're talking about being perceived in a certain way, you want to think about what you're representing. Now, I am one of the key people involved in a nutrition supplement company, Noumi Worldwide, but I don't brand myself as a wellness expert. Why? Because that's not my thing. I chose in the early days that I came from a business coaching background, and then I transitioned into the network marketing industry, which is almost identical. And anyone who says otherwise has either not been successful in one or both. They're identical, right? The skills are the same. But I chose to go down the branding of being a business expert. So what you'll see from me is hints and tips and strategies. And look, of course, I'll promote my nutritional product. But if you chose to be a wellness expert, and that was your thing, and I've got a good mate, Keith, that I can see he does that. He's always putting up different things around ingredients and benefits and studies and what have you. He chose to do it that way. But I want to make sure that you really consciously understand that you have to put a lot of thought into this question before you get started, okay? Because people don't care how much knowledge you have until you connect with them, but you want to decide which way you're going to be perceived first, okay? So part of your revealing your personal brand isn't just going to be about your knowledge. It's actually going to be about who you are as a person as well. Now, I know some people are very private, and then if you want a personal brand, good luck with that, because you can't be private when you're personal branding. But when you go out and you're building a personal brand, you're going to need to reveal a little bit more about yourself as a person, not just the brand that you're promoting. Now, I know some people are paranoid about that, and I see some people who are reckless as well, putting up photographs of your kids in the bath. Don't be stupid. There's things you should not put on social media because it can come back to bite you. But you do need to reveal who you are, right? So everyday life, and people connect with people in that way, okay? So put a lot of thought into it first and ask yourself a question: how do I want to be perceived in the particular business that I'm involved in right now? What brand? Now, I want to bring this up because it's interesting. I'll never forget this. I had an upline in my previous life, let's say before Noumi, and this particular person came to me and said we had a guy that should come in and join the company. And I knew the guy he was talking about. And I said, I wouldn't really bring him in. And he said, well, why not? And I said, well, because I know that he has two phones. One his wife knows about, and another one with hundreds of women's names in it that he goes and sees on his little breaks here and there that his wife doesn't know about. And my upline at the time said, listen, your personal life is your personal life and your business life is your business life. And I said, rubbish. If you believe that, oh man, you're going to run into an iceberg one day. And sure enough, this person joined that company. A little while later, the company terminated him because he was womanizing people left, right, and center. I'm not even sure if his marriage is still intact. If it is, it's a miracle. So I want you to know, and tell me if you agree, type in yes in the chat. Do you believe that your business life and your personal life are one, in that you can't be a certain type of person over here, like he was, and then, the wholesome person over here in business? Type in yes if you agree. You can't separate the two. It's going to come back to bite you at some point in your life, and that's the critical thing. So, if people see you as an amazing business leader, but then they find out behind the scenes you're actually the sort of person they would never want to affiliate with, it is going to come back to you. Look at all the sports stars, right? Look at all the sports stars. That's exactly what happens. So let's go through 10 quick tips. Now, today's session is not designed to be a complete workshop on these topics, but I'm just going to give you 10 things that I've done that were mentored to me to do as I decided I wanted to build a personal brand, okay? So first tip, number one, would be, would you maybe go out and get yourself a professional photographer? Yeah? Professional photographer to take some images of yourself. Now, yes, we can take our own photographs, and if you've got a friend who can take some really good ones, that's fantastic. But there comes a point when you want to build a really professional brand that you might need to invest to go get somebody else to take photos. Now, all my friends know that my photography is my hobby. I love it. I'm great at it. And I say that without any ego. I just know that I'm good at it because everybody says it every 5 seconds. But I can't take photos of myself. So I went out and I paid for a professional photographer to do a bit of a shoot. So I've got half a dozen to, a couple of dozen photographs that I could use if I wanted to that show a very professional image. So that's tip number one. Write that one down. Maybe upgrade to get some professional photos taken if you really want to polish your brand. Tip number two. And by the way, someone typed in this, worthwhile to get a good headshot. And you know what? I agree with that. Thanks, Jackie. It's interesting now these days with a lot of the AI programs, you may be able to take one of your photos, chuck it into an app and have it spit out a really professional photo. Just be careful because I did it with one of mine. And it's funny, as a haircut I was thinking of getting as I get older with grey hair, and it put up that photograph, but I looked weird. It made me decide not to get that haircut in the long run. So tip number two. Maybe you need some kind of branding or a logo. Now, it doesn't have to be revolutionary. I don't know if you've heard of this, but if you go to Photologo can create a beautiful scripted handwritten version for you. I think mine cost me $30. It was not much. It was under $100. Now, by the way, if you're thinking, I can take that and go sign checks, that's not my signature. Just so you're clear, it won't get you any checks. But I had that brand created for about $30 to go along with the photography that I had done as well. Now, photography is not cheap, but as I said, you can go through AI and things like that. But these are cheap. You can get yourself a handwritten logo. My writing looks more like a cockroach running across a piece of paper than something fancy like that. So that's why I got somebody else to make something that was professional. So tip number two, maybe logo, maybe a written scripted handwriting, whatever it may be. Just have a think about that brand. Tip number three, what could you give away to attract a crowd? What could you give away to attract a crowd? So what is your knowledge? Is it an ebook relating to wellness? Maybe your company has one. I know ours does. Maybe from a business perspective, you've got some coaching ideas and things like that you can give away. Maybe you've got a podcast or something that you're doing where you're throwing the podcast away for free so people can warm to you because then they know about your skills. And I've done exactly that. After this event today, if you go to www.michaelfirth.me, it doesn't matter whether you're involved with Noumi or not. There's people from every company on the planet in there. Subscribe for free. There's 52 tips where I'll teach you from a basic novice through to someone who manages a small team to someone who's got hundreds of thousands of members in their team. Because again, I'm not teaching theory. That's the situation that I've gone through. So that's giving something away for free. Okay, maybe that's it for you. Tip number 4. Don't look at your own brand and assume that it's all fantastic. Ask some other people. Do you have a mentor? Do you have somebody that you fall back on? I've got a mentor in all areas of my life. I've got a marketing mentor. I've got a financial mentor. I've got a network marketing mentor, Alex Monterosa. So bounce some things off them and see what they think, okay? Because sometimes you might get some photographs taken, you like them, and other people look at it and go, oh my God. It's a little bit like, I don't like wearing ties anymore when I left the mortgage industry. But back in the day when I used to wear ties, I would buy my own ties. I'd come to the office and everyone go, oh God, what is that? As soon as I let a woman pick my ties for me, everybody said, wow, I love your ties. So maybe get a third party bit of feedback on your branding, okay? Tip number 5, this is really important. If you're on social media, be mindful of watching who tags you, okay? Now, it seems to be a really poorly trained thing happening in the industry now where people think, I'll just tag all these people who have lots of exposure and then I'll get more exposure to what I do. And I get a bit of that out of some of the African region at the moment, and I'm not tagging any racial things. There's just certain individuals seems to tag me everything that they think they want to get exposed. So that picture here shows distancing yourself. Make sure you set up your profiles on social media so that you can see when you're tagged and you have to allow permission. So what happens is as soon as someone tags me, I get an alert and I go remove tag immediately. Even if they're in our business, depending on what it is, I'll remove the tag because it depends on whether it's something I want affiliated with my personal brand. And often some of the things that are tagged are definitely things I do not want to be affiliated with my personal brand. So I just hit the untag button. Now, their photo might be somewhere else online. It's not of me. It's probably selling something, but I'm untagged in minutes and I can move on, protecting my personal brand. So make sure you protect your personal brand. Now, press releases. This is really important, right? I like that. Rhonda said the best she ever did was setting up so people couldn't tag her. Totally. So press releases. Now, If you say you're good, in Australian slang, you're full of it. Put an S on the front, right? If you say you're good. But if somebody else says you're good, it holds a lot of weight. So when you get a press release done, a press release can add perceived expertise. Now go back to your branding. So what was my branding? My branding was a business coach, business expert. So I know in our industry, Business for Home is actually a website that pretty much every company in the world and what have you has things on there. So I very quickly made sure that there's an article on there when we helped start our company. And there are now at least 6 different articles in there, not all about me. Some of them are about the company. There's a couple in there about me talking about my beliefs on the industry and things that need to change. So don't go out there just blowing your own trumpet. Think of a topic that you have a passion about. And mine was reform in the industry. And I talked about the fact that the industry needs to be reformed. Why? The 5 tips at the start, the 5 deadly sins people are doing, damaging their personal reputations every day without realizing it, and damaging the industry's reputation at the same time and their company's reputation. So I put an article in there about reform. Okay. So maybe that's important for you too. And by the way, I don't know if you know this, but press releases don't need to cost you money. They can actually be free. Talk to somebody who knows all about that. There's many companies out there that'll help you with that. Tip number 7, maybe you need more exposure. Now on social media, you can post. You can put an article up, you can do this and that. If you really want to personally brand yourself, maybe consider getting a coach or mentor and then learning how to hop online. But again, if you do a live stream, make sure you do it and think it through in advance. Some people get on there and all they're going to talk about is, I had a coffee this morning. That's nice. If you just do live streaming every 5 seconds without a purpose, it can come across as noise and people will just start to ignore you. But getting exposure with live streaming, talking about topics, and we're doing it today, we're doing it right now. I'm giving away free information that's helped me grow my brand to the size it is, and I'm doing it on live streaming and I'm doing it for free. So maybe that's a good one for you. Now, sometimes you'll run out of content and you go, well, what do I talk about? I don't know what to talk about. Why not interview other people? Okay. Why not interview other people? Do you know, I call this the Pitbull strategy, right? And I've used this Pitbull strategy myself in my personal brand. I will run out of things to say as well. I've got 52 tips up online, but I'm telling you what, if you wanted me to write 53 right now, I'd be scratching. So interview other experts, other people in the industry. Don't be scared to put other people in the limelight as long as they match your heart, integrity, and your values. Be careful who you affiliate with, like I said earlier, but maybe interview other people. That'll give you content that you could then get on more often. And, think about Pitbull. The very first time Pitbull did a rap song, I think it was, I don't know exactly who it was, but it was probably J-Lo or something like that. It went viral. Next minute, everybody else wanted to be interviewed by Pitbull. Now Pitbull's got a queue of people who actually want to do that, right? So tip number 8 is interview people, get interviewed yourself, accept invitations to be interviewed yourself. Now, we're doing one more thing right now, and I'm going to pull the veil back and show it to you so you can see. Tip number 9 talks about live streaming, but it also says, what about streaming into multiple locations? Right now, I'm using some software. If you want to go get it yourself, it's called Restream. Now, I've tried all sorts of software, but this to me is the bee's knees, because I can do this event here where I can almost like the Minority Project. If you don't know if you remember that movie where you could move the screens, I can do absolutely anything on that level. I then can live stream our Noumi company events to multiple platforms. Right now, we're on LinkedIn. Right now, we're on Facebook. We're on YouTube. We can go on Instagram. We can go anywhere, all by clicking one button. So I don't have to get complicated with all the different platforms I'm doing it on. I just hit one button, I talk, and everything goes to all the other channels as well. Okay. So consider getting some software which takes you a little further than just live streaming on what platform. That's number 9. Number 10, embrace your raving fans. What do I mean? Okay. Again, I'll go back to what I said earlier. If you say you're great, people think you're full of it with an S. If someone else says you're awesome, then people will believe it. So harness your town criers, your raving fans. I'd ask you right now, do me a favor. Don't be shy to ask. If you get a lot out of this interview, please type it in the chat. I would love other people to know the value you got out of this. Type it in. And that's a testimonial. Maybe you could then reach out to the person who typed it in the chat. And I did this the other day and said, hey, would you mind posting that over here instead as well? They're going, absolutely, Michael. I got so much out of that. I'd absolutely love to do that. So you might sound like you're pulling some strings, but no, just remember, third-party validation in a testimonial is what's going to get you more traction than anything you do yourself. So tip number 10, embrace and utilize, and don't be shy to ask for people who will give you that extra rating. Now, finally, assumed tip, okay? Assumed tip. You're on social media, right? Because if you're not, how are you going to build a personal brand? So maybe it's Facebook, maybe it's LinkedIn, maybe it's Instagram, maybe it's all of them, maybe it's TikTok. Now, for me, I'm not on TikTok, but I am on Facebook in a big way because I helped, like I say, research that back in the day when it started. And then my kids grew up and said, crikey, we're getting off Facebook and Instagram to escape dad. And then I went out to Instagram and my daughter's like, what are you doing? And then went to the next platform. She's grown up now. She had her birthday yesterday. But I am on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. Now, Facebook, very heavy. Instagram, very heavy. Facebook, heavy. LinkedIn, heavy-ish. Instagram, very light, because it's just not my strength, okay? So you can't be a master of everything, but I know I need to be on all those platforms, and I'm sure there'll be more platforms as we move forward that people are going to talk about being on as well. And that's your personal choice, of course. So the assumed tip is you are on social media, okay? Now, as we wrap up, I just want to say this, thank you for being on today's event, yeah? But I also want to say, and I hope you got a lot out of it, and please do type it in the chat and share this from YouTube or Facebook with all your friends. I don't care who gets it. Spread, and I don't care if you're in our company or not. If you're in the industry, we're going to professionalize the industry, which will be a positive thing for everybody. A rising tide floats all boats. Now, if you are on here brand new and you're saying, I just joined Noomi or I just joined my network marketing company, guess what? You didn't need to do anything I just told you. And anyone who tells you do is selling you something like a program. Let me show you how to build your personal brand, attraction marketing, and that's all good stuff. But you need to do one thing. When you start your home-based business, whatever it is, Noomi, whatever, the first thing you need to do is contact your warm contacts. And unless you do that, you'll never be able to put your hand on your heart and look someone in the eyeball and say, go do that. And that is the most powerful part of home-based business network marketing. That's what it's called, networking. So if what I've just shown you here is for those people who have matured in their journey, okay? For the brand new person, if you're watching this today, you don't need to go out and get a photographer and all this rubbish that I talked about and logos and that sort of stuff. That's for the more advanced person. But if you took one thing out of this, treat your home-based business as a profession, and know that down the track, as you build bigger, you will be looking to brand personally, and you might inch forward in some of these little steps. The one thing you might do right now is set up approved tags. You might start to look at your own social media and realize that you're spamming your company name, and stop it for brand protection, and maybe add a bit of personality in there at the start. So you don't need to do absolutely everything that I said right there. But if you want to be perceived as a leader and build a personal brand in the long term, it's something you're going to need to consider, okay? So wrapping up, after here, if you want lots more tips, as I said, feel free, go to www.michaelfirth.me. It is a free subscription. It always will be, because it's my way of giving back to the industry. And again, type in pick me please as we wrap up, or in the playback anytime over the next little while. And you might go in the draw for a free bottle of our product. And I just want to remind Mary Lou Romo Gritzoweski, I apologize if I misspelled it, you were the lucky winner of last week's prize draw. And I look forward to seeing everybody later in the week. Now, for the Noomi members, just telling you that you will see more languages come up on Everything Noomi Worldwide this week. I think we've got French and another language lined up. So you have all those playbacks. And this time, live streaming every week will be another event next week and the week after, and ongoing from then as well. So hope you enjoyed the event today.